Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7fm.com. Here is the Z107.7 local news for Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. The suspect arrested at the end of a standoff in Yucca Valley on Monday is expected to be arraigned in court today on 18 felony charges related to the sexual abuse of a child, with dozens more enhancements for inflicting great bodily injury and prior felony convictions. San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies say that they attempted to contact Carlos Hernandez Jr., a 27-year-old resident of Yucca Valley, at a home in the 5600 block of Anaconda Drive early Monday morning. Hernandez is alleged to have repeatedly sexually assaulted a 14-year-old victim, and deputies say that he provided the victim with methamphetamine and marijuana as part of the abuse. The victim's mother told deputies she confronted Hernandez about the abuse, at which point he threatened to kill her with a knife. Hernandez refused to exit the home in a situation that escalated into a 5-hour standoff with deputies at the home on Anaconda Drive. Hernandez is being arraigned this morning on 3 felony charges related to forced oral sex with a teenager, 3 felony charges related to sodomy with a teenager, 10 felony charges of lewd or lascivious acts with a child aged 14 or 15, 1 felony charge of making criminal threats which will result in death, and 1 felony charge of threatening or dissuading a witness. He is facing a number of enhancements for the circumstances of the assault, inflicting great bodily injury, and prior felony convictions. He is being held without bail. The victim of a homicide in Yucca Valley has been identified as Stephen Stoneking, a 60-year-old resident of Yucca Valley. Stoneking was found dead at a house on Redondo Street in Yucca Valley on September 21st after several requests for a welfare check were made by a member of his family. Stoneking was unofficially identified by family members, but last week was officially identified as the victim by the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office. A suspect was arrested as part of the investigation into what the Sheriff's Department is investigating as a homicide, but the suspect was released after the County District Attorney's Office declined to press charges. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department says there are no updates on this investigation. The beloved annual Orchid Festival returns to Goobler Orchids in Landers this week. On last Friday's Z107.7 Up Close show, host Gary Daigneault spoke with Orchid organizer Chris Goobler to break down the way that the festival provides significant funding to local nonprofit organizations.
Any purchases inside the greenhouse totally goes towards the nonprofits, except for sales tax and credit card fees and those type of incidentals not related to our daily operation. Outside the component, Joshua Tree Brewery, they donate 100% of the proceeds from the Orchid beers, which is the famous Sherry Baby beer, the one that smells like chocolate, and we have another fragrant one called Golden Pixie. So those 2 beers, 100% of the sales from that goes towards Rotary and to the nonprofits. The object of the festival was to create a showcase for nonprofits, because somebody may not know who Theater 29 is or what Unity Home does or Boys and Girls Club and who they serve. So this is an opportunity to showcase their nonprofit as well as making some money along the way. So we came up with this idea of a Rotary Buck. 10% of your purchase, so if you bought $100 worth, you'd get 10 Rotary Bucks. And you can then select the charities that you would like to support, and then the top 3 get a bigger share of that pot. And then if a nonprofit is helping with the festival, actively helping, not just having a booth, they get an additional amount.
You can hear their full conversation by listening to the Z107.7 Up Close show as a podcast at our website, Z107.7fm.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. And the 28th Annual Morongo Basin Orchid Festival runs this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. On tomorrow's Z107.7 Up Close show, host Gary Daigneault will welcome the chairman of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, Don Rao, and Dr. Georgina Yoshioka, Director of County Behavioral Health. Yoshioka and Rao will focus on mental health issues, resources, and the fentanyl crisis. The show will air live at 10 a.m. Friday morning and will be available as a podcast afterwards. In the spirit of St. Francis of Assisi, the Yucca Valley United Methodist Church will host a Blessing of the Animals this Saturday morning. Pastor Charlene Ryan says, quote, All God's creatures need prayer sometime. She encourages you to drop in with your pet or livestock, leashed or crated as appropriate. You can also bring a photo of the pet. Pastor Emeritus John Runkle says that in past years, he's blessed a pot-bellied pig and one time a rattlesnake. The blessings will take place on the patio of the United Methodist Church, located at 57273 Onaga Trail in Yucca Valley. You can drop in anytime between 10 a.m. and noon on Saturday. Disabled American Veterans is a veterans resource group, and they're hosting their 10th annual air rifle shooting competition this weekend. Everyone is invited to this family-friendly event. The competition will be held at the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center on Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Since the event is on the base, please bring 2 forms of photo identification. Donations of $15 to $20 are encouraged for all attendees. Funds raised will be used to defray the cost of the event and provide veterans with local services. Are you prepared for an emergency if you turned on the tap and nothing came out? Online news editor Robert Hayden has been thinking about being prepared for emergencies and picks it up from here.
Water's important everywhere. That's not a very hot take, but I feel like it's worth mentioning because we live in the middle of the Mojave Desert and we've got great water. Depending on where you live in the Morongo Basin, the water you get out of your sink is probably coming from aquifers located right from underneath your feet rather than having to be piped in from somewhere else. While our water is safe below us, the infrastructure that brings it into our homes is just as vulnerable as anything else human-made, especially when Mother Nature is part of that equation. Recent natural disasters like Hurricane Helene and the ever-present threat of wildfires or earthquakes in Southern California are a grim reminder that being prepared for a natural disaster event goes beyond knowing your emergency exits. So, for the sake of this thought exercise, let's say your tap isn't delivering water for any number of reasons. While it varies for everyone, on average, we require anywhere from 4 to 6 cups of water a day, according to Harvard Health. However, that number can easily double depending on your health or activity level. If you want to start small and keeping more water around, having a pitcher in the fridge is a good place to start. If you have room in your freezer, putting water in there does double duty by having ice on hand for food storage. Occasionally cycling this water out will keep things fresh, but if you're storing the water for emergency-only access, it's probably smart to also have water purification methods on hand. The last major natural disaster to knock out water for a large amount of high desert residents was the Landers Quake in 1992. Having extra water on hand at your house can help fill the gap if the tap doesn't turn on, and the water that you store for emergencies may go a long way in helping your neighbors as well. You can see this story on our website for some links on tips for storing water for emergencies. That's Z107.7fm.com. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Robert Hayden.
And finally, the 29 Palms High School Lady Cats volleyball teams visited Yucca Valley High School to take on the Trojans volleyball teams last night. The Lady Cats came away with the win for both varsity and junior varsity. The Lady Cats JV team won in 2 with final scores of 25-18 and 25-19. In varsity action, the teams played 4 exciting sets. The Lady Cats bested the Trojans in 3 of the 4 with final scores of 25-21, 25-15, 23-25, and 25-13. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. If you hear about news happening, let us know. Email us at tips@z1077fm.com. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z1077 Local News, I'm Jeff Harmatz.